You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Arrested Development After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Arrested Development After Show.
Hello, everybody. Bing is for doing, and we are here doing the Arrested Development After Show. Hi, everybody. For those of you on our video watching streaming or on YouTube, you're probably in for a really nice treat right now as we have some kissing action.
More protrusion.
More job. That's what he said. That's what she said. Sorry, wrong show. You guys keep going. My name's Nando. You can do this for 40 minutes. I don't mind. I think people don't mind who are watching this. I'm Nando Velasquez. Right next to me, the one who's not trying to kiss anybody, is...
Hi, everyone. I'm Alina. Great job, ladies. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Impressed.
I'm Roxy Striar. I'm Roxy Striar.
You usually kiss and talk at the same time?
All the time.
All the time.
It actually makes me go cross-eyed. I'm like, I don't think that was part of the diagram.
Okay. And
anything
Cathy
from you?
can only kiss and not talk at the same time.
I'm Cathy Kelley.
There she goes. So hopefully you guys on video got a treat. If you're listening to us on iTunes, just go to YouTube and you'll see it.
Actually, instead of going to YouTube, what can you do? You can go to our AfterBuzzTV.com, our amazing new website, which you got to check out because people have been working so hard on it, and it's incredible. And you want to see our tongues.
Well, but you have to see it live.
Yeah.
I mean, for people who are listening to us
really
record it.
hope that everyone's been watching Arrested Development before they watch our after shows, because otherwise you're
not going to understand why they're sticking their tongues out. Yeah, totally. So... once you get it, let's just do that for 40 minutes. Okay, anyway. So we are doing Señoritis today. Senior with the N with the little tilde as an enyek, exactly, to mean so many different things. Señoritis. And this is the first episode we get to see Maeby featured. So this is Maeby's Arrested Development.
Perhaps it is.
Perhaps it is Maeby's. It definitely is Maeby's Arrested Development.
Definitely Maeby.
Yes, absolutely. So a great episode. What do you three think?
I loved it. I loved seeing everything come together. I feel like they revealed so much this episode. And I don't know, a lot of bloots in India. Well, actually, she's not technically. What's Tobias's last name?
Well, they're all Fuques. They're all Fuques, I guess. Well, I mean...
yeah.
All the Fuques are full of...
Finques-ish.
And
No, I thought it was a great episode. I think it's unfortunate that when you're younger, you age so much quicker, so it's off-putting to see Maeby then and Maeby now.
Maybe what?
Maybe somehow, maybe that, maybe now. But once you get past that, obviously her character's amazing and we love to watch it, but it does take a few moments to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to accept this for what it is.
And I've always thought, like, for the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development, Maeby was one of the smartest of the entire family. And it's ironic because she's the one that didn't graduate from high school. And, you know, they all see her as this failure, yet she has...
the secret life.
The biggest career.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, juggling 3 jobs now.
Hell, we predicted that she was going to be the one that was going to be selling all the houses in Sudden Valley when we saw that whole Tobias episode with the Catch a Predator. So
Maeby is a natural-born hustler. She's a hustler. That's
Yeah.
all there is to it.
I mean, anytime
she's
that
a
people
pimp.
anytime people bring that up, it reminds me. Do you guys remember Shirley? When Maeby's counterpart that she made up, the girl in the wheelchair.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I always think about that. Like you're saying, she's a hustler, you know? She's smart, whatever it is. Even if her genius isn't used for good, she's always, she's always on her toes.
You don't have to be book smart all the time.
Right.
No, you can be street smart. And that's what she is.
Definitely.
She's the con artist that Job sometimes, I think, wishes he could be. Or any of the other ones, or maybe even George himself, maybe even the father wishes he could be.
Yeah.
Maybe she has a little bit of George Sr. in her.
I think she has a little
Former.
Lucille Bluth, who is the smartest and the,
That's true, too.
the puppet.
Yeah.
Or she's not the puppet. She's
puppeteer.
the puppeteer.
Yeah.
The master manipulator.
Yes.
So to speak. So anyway, let's get into it. So we start off pretty much. Well, we start off with seeing her in a school bus, but we'll skip through that and we'll get to that a little bit later. Pretty much the whole beginning of the episode showed Maeby from the end of season 3 going on to trying to get noticed by her parents, which of course is an ongoing thing, and also George Michael feeling conflicted about it, and we get to see that George Michael and Maeby don't end up together like we thought in the pilot when we saw them in the dorm room.
Well, not yet, at least.
Not yet, at least. So still some attraction there, perhaps, but they've cut it off for the moment.
I just want to throw this out there and see what you guys are thinking about this. I feel really awkward about the fact that I want the two of them to end up together.
Me
too. You guys want them to be together also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was rooting for them, but I don't feel right about it.
It feels really uncomfortable.
Right?
I mean, maybe pick some weird people.
Steve
So
Holt.
they're all, I mean, that was so unfortunate.
Steve Holt.
I feel like Michael Cera is the best option, but at the same time, George Michael is the best option. And George Michael can't do better than Maeby.
But she has an issue with his kissing, as you guys displayed, so
Yeah,
maybe it's not meant to be.
but that was 5 years ago, so maybe now he's a pro kisser.
Perhaps.
Perhaps now.
After college.
After Rebel.
During college.
I've
Get
fallen
this
into my own trap.
Yeah,
No, but
absolutely.
it just makes me feel really uncomfortable inside. I mean, usually, even on a show like Gossip Girl, where you see people who are their step siblings and then they start dating,
Yeah.
I always was like, no, that is wrong. When you're even close to being related, it's got to be bad. But this, I don't know.
Greg and Marcia, I never wanted to get together.
That's a better example.
That's a
There
perfect
we go.
example, actually.
I
Yeah.
don't- But I'm struggling a lot with this. So I want to hate it, but whenever I just feel like they play off each other well.
With all the other awkwardness that happens in his family, that's the thing that bugs you the most. That's what's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I know,
I mean,
that's
but it's true. It kind of bugs us all equally the same way. So it's
I'm
really
just
interesting.
rooting for George Michael, so it's not necessarily that they're together, but I just want him.
You're not rooting for Maeby?
Kind of, but George Michael more so. I want him to get the girl.
Well, all right. Well, we'll talk more about George Michael when later on in the episode. But let's talk about India, because we find out that in Maeby's quest to try and get noticed, and she finally says, I'm just gonna go to India and work on the new Gangi movie, right?
Gangi.
I can never say that right for some reason. Gangi, which we find out now the whole Czech thing is Gangi 4 is a movie. Facelift is a movie.
Yeah.
Gangi 4, Eat, Pray, Love, Run.
Well, I don't know if that was Gangi 4. Was that?
No, that might have been Gangi 5, actually.
Okay.
And I loved that. I thought that the big reveal of the season was going to be that Tobias was on the plane, but I love that Maeby was there as well.
Yeah. I thought that was brilliant. That's really awesome. The whole
Adds an entire
family.
new element.
And not only that, but and I didn't notice this until you two brought it up while we're watching the episode, but the whole shaman thing that Maeby, I thought Maeby hired someone, like one of the actors from the movie that was there.
No, she asked for the hair and makeup team, and she says, I want it to be scary makeup, like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Low blow. And then you see a minute later, this person who looks nothing like Maeby in the shaman position, and it actually is Maeby. If you look past the white face and the...
Did you notice all of the things that she was saying too? Because it was like, do you have kids? Which is something that we know that Lindsay is like, thinks that whoever says that is
It's
hitting
always
on
an
her.
automatic flirt.
But it's Maeby is saying that because she wants to know whether Lindsay even remembers that she has kids. Lindsay goes, no, why do you ask? Of course, it's just confirming everything that Maeby is thinking about her parents, that they're awful people. And she says, you're full of shit. And then...
the dead giveaway is when they go back home, and then again, Maeby says, you're full of S word.
Yeah.
You can say it.
Maybe it's like,
I get yelled at by the man in the booth when I swear. You guys all have free passes.
It's a direct quote. But then Maeby's like, don't hug the shaman.
I love that. Don't hug the shaman. Yeah, nice reference to that old commercial. So that I remember because I wasn't old. Because I'm old.
I don't know that reference.
I don't either.
Oh my God, you don't know that reference? There was all right, there's a bathroom.
Enlighten us.
Okay, well, since I'm the
Shamans
oldest
have a-
one here, there was an old, I think they're still around, toilet paper called the Charmin.
Cha-cha-cha.
So the whole thing is don't squeeze the Charmin was a whole big thing. Like people would be going through the supermarket, grabbing the Charmin, and the supermarket guy who ended up being like the spokesperson would always be yelling at people to not to squeeze the Charmin. It's kind of like don't read the book and it's in a library.
Why
it's like
would
don't
you squeeze your toilet
like feeling how
paper?
soft
because
it
it's so
is.
soft that people can't help but walk by and squeeze it all the time.
Clever.
So then they're gonna buy it anyways. Like if they squeeze it, and they
This
like
is the
it.
commercial, but that's the idea. That
Why don't we just nitpick at
That's
this
an
for the rest
awful
of
commercial.
well, I think the idea is people watching going, oh, it must be so soft. I might as well buy it.
I prefer the bears.
Yeah, and they wipe their
Snuggle?
butts.
The
I love that.
snuggle bears, what are
Yeah.
snuggies?
No, they're
No.
Charmin, and they're wiping their butts, and the baby bear and the big bear.
That's right, because that's the newer version of Charmin. That's right.
Cha-cha-cha.
But the old version was
AfterBuzz
that.
would like to say that they are not sponsors of any.
Any toilet paper at
toilet
all,
paper.
But we do love Charmin.
we love all toilet
We
paper
cannot
equally.
endorse any toilet paper.
We cannot endorse toilet paper at all. Anyway, that was a lot for that reference. So Maeby ends up going back home after her trip to India for Gangi 5 and finds out from Kitty Sanchez that she's been outed as underage. And also discovers that her
No, she
Well, it
just
wasn't
she
about
doesn't have a
underage.
diploma.
It was because high school.
outed because of her age and doesn't have a diploma. Yeah,
No, she was of age. Oh,
back then she wasn't. That was 5 years before. She wasn't 23 then.
she
It
don't
wasn't because
mention
she
the
was of age. They didn't mention the age at all. It was because she wasn't a graduate of high school. That was the deciding factor in firing her because Ron never graduated high school because it was, a child actor.
Okay, yeah.
And so he didn't want anyone else in the company who hadn't gotten their GED or graduated.
Okay, got it.
So,
All right. I mean, she
and
was underage at the time too, but yeah, you're right. They explained it as she doesn't have a diploma.
but what do
so-
you mean by underage?
It was
Under
the
what
other
age?
company.
Well, I guess that's
not an
true.
adult.
I don't know. It was always in the past seasons the fact that she was in high school but still doing that.
But
That's what I meant.
that was at a different company, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
when
That
she
was
was
with-
fired, the reason I'm bringing this up is because when she was fired, I don't think it was, although it's not 5 years later, it's not 5 years prior. So I think it was sometime in between when she was fired.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Got it.
whatever- Yeah, she just didn't have a diploma.
I loved all of the articles that we saw that was like non-grad Ron Mad and Imagine promotes high school grad Kitty Sanchez. It was amazing. I paused on all of those just to read them.
As you always do.
I do.
No, it's
They're
worth
okay.
and it's
Funny.
worth all those extra gems to pause.
It is.
Yes, it is absolutely worth it with this show. So we find out she gets fired from her job. Kitty Sanchez replaces her, as we know, and also she discovers that her parents both are leaving her. Well, I guess she goes back to school. Am I getting ahead of myself? She goes back to school.
No, first the parents decide that they get the house when they get back from India because
Yeah, because
they're
we
back
see her
together,
going back to school and she's yelling, and baby's having babies
Babies
is on
Having
TV.
Babies is filming at her high school.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you caught that. There's a film crew.
Uh-huh.
Roxy caught it.
It was bizarre because I think that we've watched this episode 6 times now, and all of a sudden I'm looking and I'm like, is that a camera? Did they mess up there? I thought that maybe the show had messed, and then all of a sudden you see a camera team filming in the classroom, and so we paused it like 6 times to read finally what it said, and the film crew says, babies having babies,
And they're
there's a
filming the pregnant girl in the front row.
seat.
That's awesome.
So, in the front seat, in the front row of the classroom.
That's awesome.
So
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure
Which
that
is
will come into
hilarious.
play sometime later. We'll see that episode with that girl.
And I mean, we saw throughout this entire episode the family just wanting to watch babies having babies as opposed to actually talking to each other during Thanksgiving dinner and all of these other events.
And just the fact that the Thanksgiving miracle didn't happen on Thanksgiving when they found the duck. It was the week before.
But yeah, we see a lot of Lindsay and Tobias saying, maybe you're going to be late for school, even though she left already. And so she ends up going to senior year multiple times too.
We have to mention the voicemails they left her too. That
Right.
was hilarious.
That's after
Oh,
they
yeah.
break up because first, I mean, they go through this.
Well, first, they I guess they have their whole thing at Swapigans. So, and then Lindsay runs off with Marky Bark, and Tobias runs off with Debris, and they both leave, and they both leave messages. I love we get to hear Lindsay's message again. Please delete this, Tobias. Please delete this so I can leave a message for Maeby, and you hear them going back and forth.
But the last message
Widow
was
car.
the absolute best, which is their real estate agent calling and saying that they've defaulted on their loan. Oh, and P.S. Tobias, you got a call back for Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, because as we know, his first real agent was Allstate, and the next one was the one who has now.
Yes, his real estate agent is also
agent.
his casting agent, apparently. So his talent agent, so to speak.
Again, I wish it worked like that.
Yeah, don't you? Don't you? So Maeby is down on her luck. She has no house, although she ends up going back to Genki's house for a little bit, and then we hear her screaming, and now we if you remember the screaming from prior episodes, we thought they were ostriches or other things, and now we realize she's hiding in all these houses.
Yeah. And I love, just because it's a different camera angle, we didn't see her before. We saw the scene where the ostrich takes over that room, makes it smell like urine. And then, you know, we saw the scene of also how the ostrich got outside. We thought it might have been multiple ostriches. It's the same one, and it's always, you know,
right. And we saw how it got there in the first place. Marky Bark and Lindsay brought the ostrich.
Right.
Yeah, well, we saw that. But then what we saw was how the ostrich went into Lucille 2's house because Maeby let that ostrich out.
Right, and
attacked her.
The whole thing is just a play on the fact that Maeby's never noticed. So like you're saying with the camera angles, we don't actually see that Maeby's living there, and then we hear the scream, but we don't even really ask, what was that?
Well,
or who was never that happens, and the same thing happens at the top of the episode where you hear Maeby's pretending to die, or she thought, or she wanted to be dead,
saw the cough.
and then you hear, we see the coughing, and if you go back, you hear the coughing when he's doing his whatever that singing thing is. You hear the coughing afterwards, and you don't. Phallus, exactly. But Maeby's never seen because she's just.
Well,
Maeby's never seen, but she's not as bad as Anne.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah,
Where?
I was waiting for you to say that. I was queuing you up on that.
Anne's
still pretty bad.
Yeah. Still pretty bad though, but yeah. So Maeby decides eventually to get noticed. The best way for her to get noticed is to go back to high school, keep flunking until finally her parents realize that they screwed her up. Yeah.
You will die in high school.
Yeah. So we get to see lots of yearbooks and lots of really funny quotes. I know you were pausing a lot. So
the roofie circle one was great.
Life is a roofie circle.
Like, I can't even believe if you don't pause at everything, you miss half the jokes of the show. So you have to. Life is a roofie circle. Like, thank you, advice from Uncle Joe.
I also want to believe that all of those pictures of other people in high school next to her were, I don't know, just in my mind, I was like, these are probably
real high school kids.
No, not real high school kids, but people
of
like the writers' pictures from high school or their children or something of that nature, where it's inside jokes between them, which I just
it has to be, of course. I completely agree with that. And then there was the one picture where I don't remember what it said, but whatever it is, it alluded to her having a British. She was from
that whole
England. So imagine her for a year pretending to be from England. Like, I wish we could see some flashbacks of that, her with her British accent or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely, that'd be really cool.
So
that was a callback to season 3.
Yeah.
To Little England.
Love it.
Yeah. So so she's going back to school, and she has a high school boyfriend.
Perfecto.
And
which is Lucille Ostero's foster kid.
I was going to say illegitimate, but really foster kid.
But wait, sorry, I have to go back to the one more thing about the yearbook thing. Was that her name changed every time? You guys noticed that?
Oh yeah.
One of her
was
Featherbottom.
Yes,
Yeah.
which keeps coming back from Mrs. Featherbottom when Tobias was pretending to be Mrs. Doubtfire type character.
Exactly.
And then Lindsay's.
I just think that Maeby is more like Lindsay than she realizes a lot of the time. And both
Isn't life funny that way?
Isn't it just so funny?
Isn't
like,
it just
my
so
daughter.
odd? You turn into your mom or your dad.
So sorry, you can continue. You just have to throw it
man.
out
Oh no, it's fine. Are you okay?
Man.
Yeah.
I just had a realization there.
I'm gonna turn into my mom. No, I'm kidding.
No.
We love your mom.
I love
So
her.
much love.
Yeah, I was gonna say we love your mom.
She was on episode 1. If you guys go back, you can see her if you remember her.
There's a pitch for episode 1. Hey, speaking of pitches, why don't we do? Why don't we talk about this amazing movie that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks? And she throws it over to me. Okay, so this movie is a movie that's been a labor of love here at AfterBuzz for our founders and many other people have been working on it. It's Adventures in Serial Buddies.
The Adventures of Serial Buddies.
Yeah, so like your narration there, and it is
not as good as Ron Howard's.
Not as good as Ron Howard's, but we have a really good narrator, Henry Winkler, who's also from Arrested Development.
Who's as good as Ron Howard.
And who's as good, and he's also was in Happy Days. Yeah, if not better, he's just as good. Also, Beth Beers and Chris McDonald and Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, and Artie Lang, and of course Maria Menounos, who is one of the main people responsible for AfterBuzz, and as well as Kevin Undergaro, who directed and produced this, and Phil Stetek, who's actually helping us out on the board today, but he had a lot to do with the movie as well. You can right now, this came out a few months ago in movie theaters for a limited run, but guess what? Ooh, Back to the Future there. I love it. But you can actually download it. You just got that? Well, really? Really? I'm busy talking, but I couldn't do both. But anyway, so you can actually rent or buy this on iTunes right now. The Adventures of Serial Buddies. Just do a Google search. If you're on iTunes, it's really simple. Also, you can go to the website, serialbuddies.com, and get more information. And please support AfterBuzz by watching, renting, buying this movie, and tell a friend about it.
Yes.
Awesome. Good.
I'm actually finding it on iTunes right now.
It's, I think, $4.99 to rent and $5.99 to buy. It's just $1 more to buy it.
So just buy it so you can watch it anytime you want.
Yeah, just buy it.
Or just keep renting it until you finally give in to buy it. We'll take it.
Tobias?
Tobias?
Huh?
Huh? What?
Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Perhaps. All right. Who's on first? I don't know. Anyway,
what's on second?
What's on second? I don't know who's on third. So yeah, let's. Hey. Hey. So let's get into. Hey. What's that? You got Italian all of a sudden on me. You're like, hey, that's a spicy meatball. Hopefully, I mean, if you guys listen to iTunes, great, but you should be watching the video feed because these girls are just between. Yeah, go do your kissing faces again. There you go.
Oh no.
Awesome. Great. So let's get into Perfecto. Speaking of kissing. Perfecto. Speaking of Italians. Yeah, if you were Italian.
And then moving on to Spanish.
And in Spanish.
And now we're full circle.
There we go. Exactly.
Rein it in.
Absolutely. Just rein it in, guys. So Perfecto is Lindsay's boyfriend, but we find out that Maeby.
By Lindsay's boyfriend.
I'm sorry, not Lindsay.
We mean Maeby's.
We mean Maeby's boyfriend.
Although it is still illegal regardless.
Yes. Well, it's illegal if they both are underage, but it turns out that, well, we know
it's illegal if one of them's underage, and we think that one is him.
Well, but we don't, once we figure out that we think that he's a cop. That's my point.
Well,
right?
yes, we are duped to think that he's older, but he's not.
So then
maybe
she's older.
Maybe he's a cop.
He's 17, and that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. So, but Perfecto, it's really funny because, yeah, we see his anti-bullying badge at the bar. I mean, come on, he's hanging out at the bar. He's showing a badge to the bartender, and he's talking.
Next to him.
And he's talking to two cops, which, by the way, we've realized now how Maeby gets to catch a local predator in Sudden Valley because she makes a deal with the cops. She's busy making deals all over the place in this episode.
Wait, how did that happen?
You're skipping ahead.
Yep.
You're skipping to the next episode.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
You just revealed something.
Spoiler alert!
I did reveal something.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Damn it. Damn it. I got busted there. Okay. Anyway, so I don't know what I was talking about just then.
In all fairness to you, that was not illegal for you to do because we do watch 2 episodes at a time, as people know.
Yeah.
We just unfortunately aren't going to be able to film the next episode.
Well, we'll get into that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's fine. But anyway, so Perfecto's showing his anti-bullying badge. So we all think he's talking to 2 cops and a bartender. So, you know, you can assume that. But she gets all worried about maybe getting busted by Perfecto, and that leads to a really funny scene with her and Henry Winkler, narrator of Serial Buddies. Her and Henry Winkler, right? Am I jumping ahead now? No.
And you spotted on the wall during that scene.
Go Ostriches, which is apparently the mascot for one of our high schools, I guess.
Another ostrich reference, which is awesome.
Well, it said go Ostrich.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it was.
And the rest was cut off by the building.
I'm pretty sure it's ostriches.
I'm assuming that was intentional, even if it does. I don't know what other word it could be, but I'm assuming it's intentional that it looks like ostriches.
Right, and I mean, it's the same exact thing that happened with Lindsay when she was telling the story, and she's like, and then the ostrich.
Exactly. So yeah, we don't have to see a full-on ostrich to get an ostrich reference. Just a little hint of it. Yeah. So which is great, and of course we get to see. Zuckerkorn trying to sneak into a high school again, this whole thing, and giving legal advice.
And Maeby.
Just hustling him.
Yes.
And maybe hustling him, another deal.
He's giving her legal advice, which I think is great because she's taking all of it, but like to the next level.
Pro bono.
Yeah. Pro bono, exactly.
She's such a hustler. She got free legal service from him too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and she ends up realizing that she can try and hoodwink Perfecto by sleeping with him because to try and trick him into thinking she's underage.
Because she thinks she'll feel a little better when she has a little Mexican in there.
Well, that's later when she's hanging out with Donnie Rittger.
I think it was earlier, but yeah.
She can just go there.
That was one of the best lines in the show. I'll feel better once I get a little Mexican in me. That was one of the best lines there, obviously. And then, so Perfecto, we get to see him. We get to see Lucille, too, catches them sleeping together, or catches her in his bed. So maybe that'll come into play a little bit later on, too, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the lines that I love in this episode was the two girls inviting her to smoke weed with them behind the whatever. Yeah, and basically they say, can you imagine someone who pretends to be in high school when they're older?
Yeah, they say, who would want to do that?
And then it was a reference for me from 21 Jump Street or like Never Doing Kissed, because the cop going back to high school.
Yeah.
And
because Never Getting
trying
Kissed.
to bust. I mean, especially 21 Jump Street, because that is the entire plot of the story. Two cops who go back to high school to bust kids.
So it was very 21
drugs.
Jump Street, I guess, when you think about it. That's very interesting. So,
I mean, of course, the show has more pop culture references and other than any show on television.
But the one interesting thing about her going back to high school is she ends up going to this tutoring program in college, and that's where she ends up running back into George Michael. So they reconnect, and we get to see some fun stuff with the two of them, where she discovers that Michael's been his roommate for a while, and George Michael starts talking about Fakeblock and impresses the hell out of her. Yeah. She's a little bit down in the dumps, and she ends up inviting George Michael to the Opies.
Which she's winning the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Which means her career is over. Her life is over at 23.
Which is worse than actually being dead, is your career being dead, apparently.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mort, for that piece of information there.
Mort, who is great as Jeff Carlin, who is great
and
as Mort.
hearing the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme music while he's climbing through the window. Amazing. Great touch.
You gotta love that. And of course, because Mort is telling Maeby that her career is possibly over, and he talks about his possible venture into the web, into the internet with Snoodle. Yeah. She decides, which rhymes with a word that they don't want to use in Arrested Development.
And they actually have a reference to
Snoodle. Well, it's similar to.
Sounds like
it kind of sounds like it.
Similar, but it's not.
That was but that wasn't the only. That wasn't the only reference to that tonight. When Maeby's pitching it, she was like, "And if you want to know what Fakeblock is, you can just something it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we got a couple references.
A couple of references against not mentioning Google.
Before we get to
go for it.
Bing is for doing.
Bing is for doing.
Before we get too far into Fakeblock, I just wanted to mention some more things from the Opie Awards.
Oh yeah.
Just the whole thing that Opie Taylor obviously was Andy Griffith, or on the Andy Griffith show, which is where Ron Howard got his start. That was his character, and he was saying that it's impressive to have an award named after you, or something like that. And then the whole scene with Rebel Alley saying that Ron Howard usually invites Bryce Dallas unless she's pregnant, so she got the invite instead.
Right, and also on top of that, the line with "It's the kids from Modern Family," so that's our third Modern Family reference
and
of
Zach
the season.
And Cody, second.
And then the second, better actor than Zach and Cody. Low blow to them, but it's the second time. Last time we saw a picture of them pop up.
Yeah. I'm starting to wonder. Somebody in the chat room actually mentioned this, and I didn't think about it, but it's true. Like all the Grinch references, Ron Howard's company did produce the Grinch movie with Jim Carrey. So I'm almost wondering if Modern Family and Zach and Cody perhaps fall under Imagine TV.
Dr. Seuss? Is that where your references are coming in?
What do you mean, Dr. Seuss?
Maybe Ron Howard's obsessed.
The Grinch.
Yeah, the Grinch. Well, I'm just saying.
Oh, is that not Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, the Grinch.
Okay.
The Grinch Stole Christmas is Dr. Seuss.
You guys were looking at me like I was crazy.
Oh no.
You've always wanted that Dr. Seuss reference.
Well, I saw so many Dr. Seuss references from the beginning, so I'm just like, and I haven't seen any in a while. But someone in the chat room, I actually just went away from the chat room to look up. I wanted to look up and see if Modern Family was under Imagine Entertainment. But somebody in the chat room mentioned that his company did produce The Grinch Stole Christmas, and I was like, yeah, you're right. Maybe that's why. Maybe they have license to talk. Perhaps they have license to mention those TV shows like Modern Family because Ron Howard produces them in some way.
There's no way they could have license to mention every single show that they frickin' mention on this show. I mean,
I guess that's true.
But at the same time, I feel like so many people in the industry are friends with people in the show, so they want them to promote.
They were even mentioning Julie Bowen when you guys.
Right, that was the other.
When they had Michael and Job fight.
Right, that was one of the other modern references.
And then today, Rico, who plays Manny on Modern Family.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then, of course, we always have our Charlie Brown reference, and there's a million other show references.
yeah, we love all those. That's awesome. I need a good grief type thing. Yeah, exactly.
So back to Fakeblock. Sorry,
Yes, let's
I
go
cut
back.
you off.
No, it's cool. We're all over. I mean, this is the kind of show that you can't help but go all over the place if you miss something. So back to Fakeblock. So Maeby starts impressing Mort with the Fakeblock pitch and ends up getting George involved. And then we also get to see George's new name, how he gets his new name, because while Maeby's working on getting money. What's the line she says? She says she's an heiress.
Yeah.
A heiress.
She pronounces it Harris.
And he says, no, it's heiress, which is how he then ends up being George Harris.
Yes. So that's how he gets his name, George Maharis, that we see on the flower that he gives to Rebel Alley from before. I know that's not a spoiler.
And that's how he meets Rebel Alley as
he meets Rebel Alley.
Because she's impressed by his whole Fakeblock.
Fakeblock. Of course, everyone they think he's the next Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg, that he's doing a big old website and everything.
It would be better if it was the Fakeblock, like the Netflix.
Yes.
The Netflix. Fine, good enough.
So then Maeby gets to go up on stage and get her award, and she goes into a cursing spree, which was awesome. So I loved, she's just bleeping like crazy, and then she's about to give him the last bleep, and she's like, what? Yeah. And he goes, oh yeah, please welcome the voices of Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah.
And then just walks out with
another show reference.
Another F-bomb. So it pretty much starts turning into the Social Network, where Maeby is backing George Michael and getting this enormous place with golf carts, and she hires Mort, and they're going crazy. And George Michael's just going, he does not like this attention, of all things. From what we understand, he wants to be private. He from the pilot, it seems like he's developing the software to be invisible.
Well, he doesn't have a single friend on Facebook, so that works out well for him.
Yeah. So, exactly. So, I mean, he is trying to stay quiet, and he eventually fires his cousin, Maeby, which devastates her, I think.
Can you guys tell me the 3 jobs she had? I know it's Fakeblock, pimping her mom, and what was the third thing?
Being a student?
Being a student's a full-time job? Oh, because she had the 3 jobs. Yeah, it was
being a pimp and then her studio executive stuff.
Well, wasn't she fired by then?
Yeah, what was the third job?
I think it's being a full-time student.
I think it's being full-time student. I actually do think so.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably it. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I was kind of confused.
Yeah, but we should move. We should move on, because the other thing that happens in the Opies too is she runs into her mom, and she sees her mom flirting with Herbert Love.
Yes.
And
so we've seen in other scenes or in previous episodes that Lindsay pours alcohol into a Ziploc bag and puts it in her purse. I loved how Maeby was putting the shrimp into a Ziploc bag and then saving it for later in her purse.
They're like daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
The shrimp doesn't spoil or anything.
Neither does alcohol.
No, alcohol doesn't. Shrimp, I don't know. Like
Shrimp?
a couple days later, pulling that out of your bag, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I put shrimp in my pockets. I don't have a purse.
I don't think I put alcohol in a Ziploc bag. I don't know.
Well, I've never tried it.
Franzia, hello.
You know what's up, girl. You know.
Apparently, you guys know
Love me
something.
some boxed wine.
Well, that's true. Actually, yeah, you're right. Boxed wine works out pretty well like that. So, so anyway, Maeby starts calling her mom. She says she's whoring herself to Herbert Love, and Herbert Love's, I guess, assistant, his administrator, overhears the whole thing, and because Herbert loves his greenbacks and redheads.
Yeah.
They work out a deal with Maeby where Maeby gets to be her pimp.
Yes.
And of course, Lindsay is unaware of all of this, and we saw Maeby
I love
earlier.
that it's essentially Maeby is getting back the money that her mother stole from her in that check.
Yeah.
Gangi
Then
for
she gave it to, George Sr., who gave it to the campaign, and then the campaign guy manager is then giving it back to Maeby.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I also mentioned that Joe was a pimp, so it's a tie back to him.
Ooh.
Or Franklin technically was a pimp.
Franklin was a pimp. That's right. Good eye on that one, Phil.
Oh, I miss Franklin.
I miss Franklin too. We haven't seen him at all, huh?
No.
I haven't even heard his. Have we heard his music? I think no, we haven't.
No,
this season.
we gotta have him get pulled out somehow.
All right. Well, we still got a couple more episodes. Who knows? But regardless, so Maeby is a pimp, making money off of her mom, and we get to see Lindsay finally standing up to Herbert Love and trying to throw the money. I love that scene.
That
Trying to
was the
throw
best
money
scene
away.
of the whole episode.
Yeah, I love that callback. I just love that reference. And Lindsay getting a little bit of heart and giving Maeby the money back that she stole from the check, kind of. Well,
not wanting to part with it.
Yeah, I love that Maeby was like, what the hell? They're taking me out of the equation. Yeah, they're trying to take me out of the bottom. Yeah, totally.
As we were talking about at the top of the episode, maybe being street smart, you know, she's got that little street level to her and she doesn't want to ruin her rep. They're taking me out of this bid. Like the way she talks is so funny.
I'm surprised she didn't beat her hoe, so to speak. Isn't that what a pimp would do? I think a pimp would do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe, perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps a pimp would do that. Yeah, totally.
And then Perfecto. That was the best thing. She's so mad about that situation that she ends up asking him, because she still thinks he's a cop, to go play bad cop and rough up the campaign manager, or I guess not the campaign manager, to rough up Love, yeah.
But then we don't know what he does. We just know the end result is that Love's in the hospital. So what did he do?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He said he took care of it.
Maybe he had his foster mom do something about it.
Perhaps Lucille
because
too.
Lucille Ostero is missing, and Herbert Love is in the hospital.
Wait, just speaking of that,
that's my prediction.
That's your prediction, that she had something to do with it? Speaking of Lucille too, though, just as a quick reference earlier in the episode, that George Michael doesn't know who she is, which was like bizarre.
Have you ever seen them interact over the 4 seasons?
You know what I'm talking about, right? When Maeby's talking about Lucille too, and George Michael has no idea. He says, "No, I've never met her." Yeah, that was just so strange to me. She's such a big part of this world. How is that possible?
But it's completely feasible because most of her scenes were always with Buster anyway, and Lucille.
Well, and Job.
I don't know my grandparents' neighbors, so.
What's funny, considering how much she's hooked up in this episode, almost every single cast member, she has never been in a scene with Michael Cera.
Right, and you know, she says Lucille too, and he's like, "Oh, Genki," and then they're like, "No."
Although we did say one of our predictions was that eventually Lucille Ostero would hook up with with George Michael, because she's hooked up with basically everyone. She's hooked up with Buster. She's hooked up with George, or I guess not George Sr. It was actually
she hasn't hooked up with Michael.
She did.
She is. Well, yeah, of course.
Michael had to hook up with her twice.
Oh, right, now.
Because he hooked up with her for money, and then he got roofied and hooked up with her again because he forgot that he hooked up with her for money.
Good point. Good point.
Well, anyway, so we get to see Lucille too. Well, we'll see more of Lucille too and George Michael. But
will we see any more of Lucille too?
Well, that's true. Well, I think we will. We have to figure out what happened to her, so I'm sure we'll see a little bit more of her. That's gonna be probably in predictions. But the one funny thing, I love the ending is when she finds out that Perfecto was really 17, and Ron Howard starts saying, "It seems that Maeby's made a huge. Nah, I'm fine," and she just walks away because that's so.
Oh no,
Maeby.
I'm gonna have to live in Sudden Valley.
Right.
Well, that's the after scenes from next week. Yeah. Donnie Richter was actually undercover. It was Rocky Richter undercover, which I love. So I'd love to see her in a stuck in house arrest with her dad. That would be hilarious.
But we know she isn't, thanks to Nando.
Yes.
In house arrest.
Oh yeah.
Revealed that.
Oh yeah.
Spoiler alert a little bit. But they'll see it next week. It'll be great. Also, I loved that.
Wait, hold on. What's the face for?
I didn't know I did a spoiler. No, did I? Yes. I was actually, I don't remember it.
Earlier in the night.
Well, now that you. Oh, you mean the other spoiler alert? What was that? Oh, that.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Yeah. Sorry.
But anyways, moving on. That Sally Sitwell is running in Lucille Ostero's place, so we're gonna have a Lindsay versus Sally campaign.
Yeah.
Which we've had
Sally
in high school.
turning out to be a little evil.
Yeah, I think they're really
right. And I just have to go back for 1 second and say my favorite line of the episode was when Maeby said, "I think movies are dead. Maybe it's a TV show," which obviously is Arrested Development would be the TV show about their lives.
Yeah.
So good reference to themselves.
All right. Well, anyway, so that's pretty much the episode. Really good episode. I loved it. Can't wait till next one. Let's do predictions real quick.
I already said my prediction. I think Lucille too had something to do with Herbert Love in the hospital.
Yes.
easy being proud.
So good.
It ain't easy.
I got children all over town.
I predict that we might see a little George Michael, shoot.
That's fine.
George Michael, and maybe a hookup by the end of the season.
Okay.
Once she dumps Perfecto.
I think that Lindsay is going to beat Sally Sitwell in this election, and it's going to be like her huge victory over Sally.
Okay. I don't know what to predict. I'm afraid now that I spoiled something. I'm going to say that those rampaging Mexicans in Cinco de Cuatro, they're the ones responsible for Lindsay's disappearance. Lindsay 2's and Lucille 2's disappearance.
Maybe they just trampled Herbert Love.
Maybe they did too, actually.
Maybe it was them. Maybe Perfecto, since he's from the he's from south of the border, potentially.
I love how nice you are.
He got all of his fellow south of the borderans to rough up.
Just say it. This show's racist enough. You can be a little. There you go. Got it. All right.
Mexicans.
So that's it for this week. We're going to return on Sunday with 2 episodes. But till then, Cathy, where can we reach your racist self at?
On Twitter. You can find me at Cathy Kelley.
You can find me at Roxy Striar.
On Twitter at _Alina23.
And you can find me at Nando Vel on Twitter.
Do it.
Oh God, you don't want to see me do it. I almost did it too. I can't talk and do it.
Once you pop the fun, don't stop.
It's gonna be on.
All right.
Forever.
Cathy's freaking out. I don't think she likes the way I did that. So anyway, till next time, we'll catch you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.